Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to welcome everybody to this special call building program. It's the first one we've had this fall, and hopefully after tonight we'll come away with a good understanding of what Mr. Carty and Mr. Odom think we need, or put us down the right path and everything. First thing on our agenda, I've got Mr. Mike Belden. Mr. Belden, let me start off by once again apologizing to you for something. We had a mix-up in paperwork the other night, last Thursday board meeting, and Mr. Belden had requested to speak as a visitor, so I agreed to put him on the agenda tonight. So, Mr. Belden.
Mr. Odom, Mr. Hodge, board members, thank you for allowing me to share this opportunity to share a few thoughts with you today. I'm Mike Belden. Our sweetheart Claudia and I live in the Foxland Drive neighborhood, which is just immediately adjacent to the new Stewart's Creek High School. And I have to confess, until only recently, I hope this doesn't come off like heresy, only recently the school board, in my mind, was just another governmental entity, a faceless bureaucracy, if you may. And I thought that the school board was a bunch of folks who made the news now and then and came out during election time. Couldn't be further from the truth. I had no idea of the hard work that you guys go through, the diligence that you put forth in looking towards the welfare of our school children. I had no idea of the personal sacrifice and the untold hours that you folks spend in doing this labor. I had no idea of the influence that you have in building the future of this area and our nation. But now that we've gotten to know you, obviously, we know you as dedicated individuals working hard together. We've come to realize that you are real people and that you are burdened with difficult decisions, difficult tasks to balance the various interests of the schools, the staffs, the students, and, oh yes, the budget. Thank you for what you do. A few months ago, it was rumored that our little street would be connected to the Stewart's Creek Schools campus. We wondered how this faceless bureaucracy could possibly do such a thing to us to disrupt our little piece of heaven on earth. And that's when it became personal. Yes, our homes and the quality of our lives are important to us, the 60 or so families that are Foxland neighborhood. You see, for us, these 60 families, the idea of turning our quiet neighborhood into a gridlocked expressway was totally repulsive. Yes, we respect the need for safe access for emergency personnel, and we sympathize with those who want to be getting home at night after school. Don't we all? But we feel that the decision to open Foxland seemed to balance on two documents. One was the Rutherford County Emergency Management Agency letter, and the other was the traffic impact study. The EMA letter referred to the additional access, but as it turned out, the letter wasn't actually a directive. It wasn't even a recommendation. It was simply a desire. But then sometimes there are meanings between the lines. I don't know if that was the case here. Also, the 111-page traffic study that was commissioned last year, it didn't support the decision either. Of all the 8 conclusions and recommendations, not one recommended opening Foxland to the campus. In fact, it actually said that opening the street would not improve the access, but would actually create traffic jams, something that we had known all along. So how do we compromise? With all you have to do, this is one distraction you don't need. We can see a need for the rare emergency access into the campus. But 1,000 or more additional cars and trucks down our little street every day, that would be disastrous to our neighbors. For some of them, this neighborhood is their universe. for all of us. It's our home and a major part of our lives, just as your homes and your neighborhoods are for you. Several of you have suggested a gate at the end of Foxland where it would join to the campus. That concept was met with skepticism when first discussed about 3 months ago. Remember that complaint? There's nothing so permanent as a temporary gate, somebody said. But you know what? If a properly engineered permanent gate is built into a substantial structure across a single lane passage, accessible only by emergency personnel, even preventing foot access, that would be an acceptable solution. A solution based on sound engineering and sound management principles. Thank you again for all you do. Thank you for not turning a cold shoulder to us or a deaf ear. Thank you for listening and responding with courtesy. Thank you for helping us preserve our neighborhood and its sanctity. We wholeheartedly wish this school to have every success. And we have no doubt that it will become a beacon in our community, and that the very capable leadership of Dr. Harrell will help set new benchmarks and quality education and academic achievement. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Belden. Number 3, Mr. Odom.
Tonight, let me kind of begin with some statements ahead of time. We, in the presentation tonight, Mr. Clardy will be making to us, I'm not asking for us to prioritize the building program. We need some time to think about it. You need some time to look at it, look at the options as we get some more information. So tonight, mainly for informational purposes, and then we'll meet again in January sometime and try to come up with some priorities before we address the commission. There's one item tonight that is there for, that has a motion, and that's the ADA compliance areas at Laverne High and Smyrna High. And we do have a motion for that one tonight because we kind of need to get started on that and go through the process with the commission and all to allow that, which we're looking at ending fund balances for that. So just wanted to say that tonight is our informational meeting. The one on the ADA compliance is 5F, actually, I think, in your plan tonight, and it'll show up at that time. Mr. Clardy, would you start with capacities for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Odom. The capacities, we've struggled over the years to come up with a good way to calculate the capacities of our school and actually tell you know, how we utilize those and what percentages that the capacity actually is of the sticks and mortar capacity, so the utilization capacity. A few years ago, I found a way to calculate that from the Council of Educational Facilities and Planners International, and we adjusted that for our Title I schools and our ESL schools. So in the first of the presentation you have, there's a brochure called, or presentation called Calculating School Capacity. So if you want to study up on that a little bit and look at it at some point, you can see where those numbers came from. Going on behind that, I took the next page, which is page 14. We took the average daily attendance report from November 26th, and I used that to calculate our current capacity and our, how many students that we have in school. And put together some spreadsheets. So if you look at the first spreadsheet on page 15, you can see that the red numbers are under capacity and the black numbers are over capacity. The yellow numbers are the Title I schools, and the blue numbers, the blue cells, are those that are adjusted for greater than 30% English as a second language courses. So upon calculating all of this, we've determined that of all the elementary schools we have in our system, we have 1,198 seats. Now, the big surprise is that they're not actually where we need them at this time. So, for instance, Brown Chapel has some, John Coleman has some. There's several different schools that have seats. Walter Hill has some. And Blackman we're having a very difficult time at Blackman, both Blackman Elementary and Blackman Middle. So if we move on over to 16, we get into the middle school. And as you can see there, through countywide, we're 932 seats over capacity in our middle schools countywide. Going over to the next page and look at our high schools, we are 905 over capacity countywide in our high school seats, with only a few, 2 schools that have a few seats in them. And of course, when Stewart's Creek comes online next August, we will resolve some of that problem. And that's what you've been doing to rezone for the last few weeks. Mr. Odom, you have something?
You notice in his capacity, he's built the portables in there as part of that capacity.
Right.
So, in order to, when we say we're over, it's because portables are sitting there. But he did count those in as being used in coming up with the capacity numbers. And that's typically, about halfway across the spreadsheet when you look at that.
Yeah, if you look, there's a column there called portable classrooms, and then the capacity, and then the total capacity, which are the portables added to the stick and brick mortar capacity or the design capacity of the school.
I'm trying to get a handle, I guess, on how a school like Riverdale with narrow hallways and a school like Blackman with wide hallways, how much difference there is in what you're trying to say. Because to me, if you got the same square footage and the same classrooms, Riverdale can't handle the same number of kids that Blackman can because of that very idea of where the hallways are.
Right, and we haven't really considered that. We've considered the design capacity of the school, and the utilization capacity takes care of part of that. For instance, on high schools, we use an 82.5% capacity of the stick and brick. And that usually takes in 3 different areas to consider, but it's mainly the cafeteria, the media, how many can you feed, and actually how many you can get up and down the hallways, all kind of things like that. And this group has taken all that into consideration in the percentage. And like I said, I've enclosed some of that, and also have the full report here if anyone would care to, take a look at it, because some of that's covered in here.
I guess what I'm saying is you can't make apples and pears being exactly like, no matter what formulas that you use. You kind of keep in mind that the newer schools will be able to handle it, in my mind at least, a number more students than maybe the Riverdale, Oakland, Smyrna Middle School. We can go on and on about the number of schools that have some different nuances than the newer schools do.
And that's a very observant. And there's a lot of things that we can kind of get a handle on, and that's the social situation there, and socioeconomic, and also the English. We can kind of, as a second language, we can kind of quantize that because we know how many teachers are there. Mm-hmm. We, I guess you could say that although it doesn't work, as long as the fire marshal says they can get up and down the hall, I guess we kind of look at that, even though it does impede how many people you can have in the hallway at a certain time and all those kinds of things. But it does make a big difference in the width of hallways in certain other areas. So we're going to move on now. We have the alternative schools, and this doesn't really play into that because sometimes they're full and sometimes they're not, and students come and go in those, so it's hard to quantize that again, although I have put it in here and I haven't used it in my final calculation. Eagleville, Central Magnet, and Thurman Francis are also, I call those other schools because Eagleville is different because it has K through 12. Central Magnet is a little bit different, and also Thurman Francis. So I've used a utilization percent of 80% there. And countywide, the current seats available, if you go through and total those all up and then take the alternative schools out, we're over capacity in our schools right now at 363 seats. Although we have some seats, including the portables, at some schools there's a lot of schools that are over including the portables. So the way I've quantitized this, there's only 363 seats, or we're over capacity by 363 seats throughout the county.
By using the portable.
But-
You took 149 portables, and if you
Right.
want to say 20 or 25, then your numbers certainly change.
So with that said, we move on to the building plan. And we've looked at several different things, and I just want to, we have Mr. Joseph Binkley here with Binkley Garcia Architects, and he has a presentation on here, and he'll be going through these, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what they were and the costs that we're looking at each one. And he can tell you the specifics of each one. Blackman Middle School Annex, they're really overcrowded out there, and we're just looking at this and considering this and throwing it out to have something on the table to help relieve them. We think these days with the cost of property, and if you got property there, if you can go up instead of going out, I think you're money ahead instead of trying to buy new property. So Blackman Middle School Annex, and as I said, Joseph will go through the square footage and those kinds of numbers, but that has a price tag of $7.4 million on it. Smyrna Primary School Media Center and classrooms, $2.5 million. Roy Waldron Elementary School with cafeteria and two-story stage in the gym, off the end of the gym, like our other elementary schools have. $2.7 million. Then we go over to David Urey Elementary School, school administration offices, and they have some portables there now, so instead of taking the classrooms to up front to use for admin and a secure front, we've decided to add on out front and take that canopy in. And that's $903,000. Then we come down to Eagleville School, Phase 1. As you recall, we just completed Phase 2. We moved on with it because of fund constraint, $5.3 million. Siegel High School addition, $4.1 million. And a new elementary school, And these are shown on our page, 2 or 3 years out, 25 million. A new middle school, 30.8 million. And then we have the next page, and I don't have this on the overhead. We have the building program, and there's some dates on there. If you look in 11 and 12, you can see where we are now, and you also see that Laverne High School and Smyrna High School ADA compliant bleachers. Move on down, Stewart's Creek High will be complete August 13. We're showing David Urey renovation there where it was on the current approved building plan, and it hasn't been funded yet. Every year has the major capital repairs in it. Move on down to 13 and 14, and these were just put on here so they would be before you. We're not really, we would like to have input from you on, and have a lot of eyes on this to see where these schools actually need to go. And at some point, Mr. Odom may want to come back with a recommendation so we can have this approved in the right order as we see it, and then give the county commission a heads up so that they're not surprised by anything that may be coming down the pike. So August 14, opening Blackman Middle Annex. August 14, Roy Waldron edition. August 14th, Smyrna Primary Edition. August 14th, Phase 1 of Eagleville, which includes the auditorium. August 15th, Laverne or Smyrna Area Elementary School. August 15th, David Urey renovation, major capital repairs. August 16th, Elementary west of Murfreesboro. August 16th, west of Murfreesboro Area Middle School. And August 16th, Siegel High School edition. And I understand that there's some plans in the works now for an elementary school by the city, and hopefully they will, with all the apartments and things that they've approved out there in the city of Murfreesboro, maybe they'll give us a little help as those people move in and occupy those apartments out there. And I think they're trying to help us at this point. Siegel High School edition 2016. So just take that and look at it and think about it and look at the numbers and see what we're facing.
In this rezoning, we got a real good idea of what was going on around Smyrna with all their apartment complexes. Do we know what's been approved by the city of Murfreesboro for the ones that haven't,
Well,
ones been approved but hadn't started yet?
We don't really know specifically. We know there's a lot of them in the entire area where the infrastructure and the lot's ready to go, and the bank's not turning money loose to build those. And once they start funding some of these things, there's a huge area out there that can grow up in the Blackman and the West Murfreesboro area.
Shane has some of that information. George might make a note and see, because he goes to the planning commission meeting sometime and picks up.
Yes.
Well, you have some where you literally have, the infrastructure is there. I mean, the electricity, some base coat roads and things, and again, it's really when banks might decide to loan some money and then development can start. But it could grow very quickly. But the most of those that are that far along are really in the Blackman area that where they've done a lot of that. The Smyrna and Laverne is turning into more of an apartment situation,
Yes.
which Shane counts. He counts 0.3 for each apartment. that would come into our schools. That's kind of the figure that he used for that. Sure. If you remember the other day, there was 1,000 rooms, basically. So you'd be looking at about 300 children that would be in the K-12 realm for us, if that figure holds true.
Yes.
Ready to proceed? I'd like to present Joseph Binkley to you at this time. He's done most of the architectural work in the last 10 years here, I guess, starting with Siegel High School. There's not one time that I can ever recall that I haven't called on him that he didn't respond immediately. I mean, we have a great working relationship with them. They continue to meet our needs, and they do it at a very reasonable cost. So Joseph's going to cover some of these projects for us at this time. Go ahead,
Thank you, Mr. Clardy. Hodge, Mr. Odom, and members of the board. It's my privilege to stand before you. And I know some of you, but haven't gotten to know several of you as well, and look forward to working with you all and getting to know you better. We'll go through the projects that will follow what Mr. Clardy just mentioned, and I'll show you graphically what we've put together in a preliminary plan for each school, and this is based on the growth needs and the programming that's been done by the staff, and visits at each school with the principals, and addressing the needs for each particular one. And I'll do this in a fairly broad brush manner so we can move through them, but stop me at any time for questions, or be glad to answer anything afterwards as well. I believe we begin with Eagleville, and this is Eagleville Phase 1. If you look here, Phase 2, which has just been constructed, is in this location. Phase 1 connects the existing school building with the existing gymnasium, and is comprised of classrooms, science labs, choral and band rehearsal rooms, an auditorium, and practice rooms, stage areas, and loading. And so then this gets a new entrance to this building at this point here off of the back parking lot. The other, just to orient you as well, there's another area which is in the area of the cafeteria, where dining would be expanded by removing the stage and altering that existing space. The next slide will go to the floor plan. Start with this cafeteria dining expansion area and a space to the side for the bank and bookstore set up. So this would all be internal renovation of about 1,600 square feet. This shows you the floor plan of the new addition. This is the gymnasium at the top of the screen. And so as you come from the main corridor of the school building into the connecting corridor of the addition, classrooms would be on this hallway as you go back to toward the gymnasium. Choral rehearsal and band rehearsal here in the middle, with the auxiliary spaces there in the middle. Then 500-seat auditorium, stage area, entrance off of this new main entry and lobby area, and then 3 additional classrooms down the back corridor here. So this is about a 30,100 square foot new construction as a part of this this phase. This is one story. Okay, next is David Urey. This will orient you to a little of the campus plan. Currently, there's a single parking lot and then drive with parking. What we're showing is taking in the area that is the covered canopy currently, building it in and adding on to the front for the administrative office suite. And we can see that a little more clearly in a second as we look at the floor plan. But this would alter the drive a bit to put drop off and pick up in this location and add some parking, another double loaded bay of parking out from the current parking. And then where the offices are currently would receive some renovation inside the existing school. So we can go to the floor plan now.
David, when you come in the front door now, you're actually in the cafeteria. So they've had to station someone up there at the front. They've placed a desk so somebody can kind of be up there to screen people walking into the building. So, and it's not one of those that we could renovate as we did before, without changing something totally out, because in several others we were able to put double doors and kind of go into the office, but the office at David Urey sits in somewhat the center of the building, so it created some issues to do that.
That's right. So if we come out to the front, what we've shown here is a new canopy and then a controlled vestibule entry, like we've been doing on all of the new schools, where during the day a visitor comes in and must go into the office to be checked in before then going in a secure manner back into the school. And so this program shows square footage for new administrative offices in this area, which is out in front of the building, and then back through the area of what is now the outside covered walkway as you enter the building. The front doors are back here currently. We'd have a wide entry hallway, guidance spaces off of that, which back up to the administrative offices. And then once you come through, you're into the cafeteria. This picks up with that cafeteria commons area, and this is where the offices are currently located, tucked back in the back part of that. And this could then be easily renovated to include a teacher dining area, a central teacher work area. A number of the teacher work areas in the building have been taken for classroom and instructional spaces, and so there's a good need for this in a central area. And then this is adjacent to the Library Media Center, and so the remaining spaces would be to pick up a little additional needed space for workroom and storage for the Library Media Center. This is Siegel High School, and what we are looking at here is a two-story addition to the classroom wing on this end, 6 classrooms down and 6 classrooms up. We can look at the floor plan here and see. When this building was originally planned, this wing was planned for this expansion, and so the services are set for that, and the site is set up for it as well. And it just continues the main hallway with 6 classrooms on the ground level. We bring the stair back out to the end of the building, and then the next slide will show us the second floor, which is just a repeat on the second floor, 6 additional classrooms and the stair. And so that's about an additional 14,600 square feet to the building there on the end of that classroom wing. Okay, Smyrna Primary. I'll orient you to the school here with the site plan. This is where you come in the main drive, and the entry to the school is right at this point. Awesome mark there, right there. And so this drive just makes a loop around, and there are a number of portables parked out in the front here. What we're showing are 3 areas of addition to the building. Library Media Center addition, cafeteria and dining addition, and new entry canopy at the main entrance, and then a classroom addition to the rear of this wing. And so we'll take those into the floor plans, Gary, and take a closer look. This area that is labeled classroom and computer lab is the entire area of the current library, a very tight library. This indicates a new addition for Library Media Center, accessed by a new hallway connection here. And for the program, this brings this library up to the standards of the new elementary libraries in terms of size and function of spaces for that space. In this area, we also pick up 2 additional classrooms to help alleviate the portable and growth situation. There's the opportunity here, with the way the building is configured, to have an outside reading area, which would be control. We'd have a little wall with a gate there for control security. Yes, sir.
As the use of books changes, hard copy books, are we designing media centers differently now, space-wise and so forth, knowing that the need for housing large volumes of books is likely going to be antique in a few years?
That has been taken into consideration, and so you don't see the growth of needs for keeping the number of books. However, I think it's been realized that that will not quickly get smaller. So while technology is being set up in the new library media centers, the hard book, I think there's still the importance of the hard books. So I think that's a good point, something that's been discussed. But so what is shown here is in keeping with the latest thinking of the new elementary schools for library size and book storage and so forth. The other portion of this floor plan is in the area of the dining. And currently, if you can, in this area, this is the main kitchen. And students come through the kitchen itself in one serving line and then come out into the dining room. What we're showing here is the ability to take in part of what is now the existing dining room and creating a servery for 2 lines, 2 serving lines, and then accommodating the additional growth by extending the dining room, enlarging the dining room in this area out at the front. This then shows the new canopy as you come back to the main entrance of the school at that point. Then this is the rear of the kindergarten classroom wing. The activity gym is down in this location. And this completes this wing, which comes out to the same point the other classroom wings do, by adding 5 classrooms, toilets, teacher work area, and storage for about 7,500 square feet of classroom addition, 1 story in this location.
Now, this could be done in phases too. So as you begin to think about this, the library and dining area could be one. This could be a separate phase when we decide to prioritize. I guess Smyrna Primary probably has the smallest dining area other than the 2 alternative schools and maybe Holloway because of the time it was built. I don't think we have another one that's that small. We haven't been there in some time and seen that you can really see how difficult it is for them to get everyone to the cafeteria.
Mr. Odom, there are also, I think there's 100 apartments that are being built right down the street now that's zoned for there. So there'll be, as those come online, Dr. Vogel's attendance will go up. And then there's some other condo type houses in the area that are being completed also.
That's the reason we asked to look at this addition also at the same time, so we at least have an idea of the layout.
When was the last time we did a major renovation at the primary school?
Oh, we went in and did some flooring and covering and things.
As far as an addition, it would have been 1994.
Although we've done some aesthetic stuff to it as years have gone by, but nothing major, almost 20 years.
That school was built in,
1963.
okay.
I think we've redone the windows in it and several heating and air conditioning, those types of things.
Okay, now we'll jump over to Blackman Middle. And you can see this is the front of the existing school, the high school across the street here. And this is the annex that we're looking at to accommodate the growth. This would be for 6th grade and would be connected with an enclosed connector to the exploratory classroom wing of the existing building at this point. And then there would just be a covered canopy walkway over to a dining addition, which would accommodate the dining needs for the 6th grade students at this location. And then this shows the layout, which we'll look at the floor plan in just a second. This would be a 2-story addition in this location. The current loop drive around the school comes through here and back out to the road. And so we would basically take that drive and extend it beyond the addition. And so the plan would be bus drop-off would occur at the front of the main building. Buses would then proceed to the front of the 6th grade building and loop back. Car drop-off, which is currently done here for the school now, would work in a similar fashion at the rear of the 6th grade building for car drop-off pickup at this point, and some additional parking front and rear. This ties to that back drive that goes on out and around by the ball fields and out to the other road. This gives you a little more close-up of the floor plan. There's about 35,600 square feet on this first floor. This end is where the hallway connector to the exploratory wing takes place. And then what is accommodated in this building are classrooms for 4 mini schools. So there are basically 20 classrooms, 10 up, 10 down, plus a couple of exploratory rooms, teacher workrooms, and so forth. Main entrance would be at this point with a controlled entry, a mini office suite, guidance in this area, teacher workroom, and then the classroom set up for 2 mini schools on this level, a special ed classroom. And then on this main level, an auxiliary gym with a regulation size court, but no seating, no bleacher seating in that area. And we've allocated a couple of spaces here and there for mechanical storage and so forth. And then on the second floor, let's see, this jumps back real quick. We'll come back to the second floor. Here's the connector. And then on nice weather days, a covered way to the dining. This is in the area of the outdoor dining now. It's outside the building, but it's adjacent to the existing dining room. And it's also adjacent to the kitchen, so from a food service standpoint, this is an easy way to set up serving for the 6th grade students, designating that area for them, and then an easy way in and out. This is the back door to the band room, which would kind of give you an orientation there. And then the second floor is just laid out efficiently above the first. 2 mini schools on this level with the complement of classrooms a couple of exploratory classrooms, teacher work area, a keyboarding lab, and then this would be the open two-story space above the gymnasium portion of the building, about 33,500 square feet on this level as well.
I would like to just take a second and go back and point out a few things here. As you can see on these drawings, this building is skewed. It was designed with those running at an angle. During the last several years, we've redesigned these so that all of the wings orthogonal are 90 degrees from the rest of the building. And they also have the same dimensions. And we've gone from a lot of flat roof area to a pitched roof on those. And by using the same dimensions on all those wings, all of our light gauge metal trusses and structures fit anywhere on the building. So we've saved quite a bit of money by doing that. We've gotten rid of the drive-it on the top of the building, started putting metal up there. We're putting slope metal roofs on the building. We've lowered the ceilings to be more energy conscious so that we don't have as much area inside the building to heat. We have gone to geothermal heating and cooling in all the new schools. Energy efficient windows and doors, lighting sensors, energy conserving light fixtures, just a number of different things conserve energy. So particularly for the new members, I know some of you weren't aware of this, and I wanted to bring that to your attention. So with this in mind, just look around at one of our newer buildings when you're out in it, and you can see those differences.
Mr. Clardy brought this to us. One of the first things he did when he came on as engineer, because as you come out at those Y angles, you begin to realize until you get to a point where everything is the same, then each one of those little steel truss, have to be designed to fit in that place. Whereas if you come out with a 90-degree angle, everything can be the same and you add on. So it proved in the ones that we built in more recent years quite a savings to go away from this Y design to go to the T design or the 90. Another nice thing is too, as administrators will tell you, you can position yourself at where you have a T design or something like that. You can get yourself in the middle, and so you're looking down 3, or it depends on whether he goes 4 ways or 3 ways. You can see it all. If you go to these that are kind of Y design, it's more difficult. If you get where you can see down one wing, it's hard to see down the other wing at the same time. So certainly, thank you for that. It saves some money and has actually become more efficient for us over the years.
We're very proud of the fact that Rutherford County gets a much, much better deal on their building prices than a lot of the other counties in the state of Tennessee and those adjoining counties also. As a matter of fact, some of them have picked up our ideas and are beginning to save themselves some money. And also our builders, one of the good things about our builders, they know that when they come to work for Rutherford County, we're not going to make them do anything that we're not going to pay them for. And everything we're going to pay them for is on the drawing. So, and they know if they turn their bill in by the 10th or the 25th, the 15th or 30th, they're going to get paid by the 25th or the 10th. So we've been very successful in getting the cost of those buildings down. Well,
we're building the envelope for Stewart's Creek High School right now is about $89.50 a square foot for the envelope itself, and that's really phenomenal when you look at it. Thanks to Mr. Binkley there and some suggestions from Mr. Clardy and some value engineering, we've done very well. That's why others are wanting to copy some of what's going on.
Okay, next is Roy Waldron. Here's the existing school and the main entry office is right here. So first of all, this shows taking in the area of the lobby of the gym and making that a stage so that this can become a gymatorium setup. New entrance vestibules on either side of this, but this shape is within the current lobby of the gym at that point. This would open up that end wall of the gym to that stage area. And then at the rear, a two-story classroom addition at this point, tying into one of the main corridors, and then altering and adding to parking, which is needed in this area. This is the service dock at this point. A couple of mechanical units sit out on the site at this area, and so this takes in an area for extended parking right there. This will show you the first floor, and coming out of the main corridor of the building at that rear wing, coming into what is a 15 classroom addition, 8 on the second floor, 7 on the first floor, stairs at each end, an elevator, teacher work area, and then central toilets, mechanical, and then just an efficient layout of classrooms on each side of the corridor there. While we're on the first floor,
Roy Waldron
yes,
has 6 portables already, so you're going to use one floor, basically just replacing the portables. So any growth,
right.
That's why you're looking at a 2-story, because you're about out of property there, land, to do anything else much more than that. So if you're going to expand the capacity, you really have to look at a 2-story.
That's right.
Design.
And I guess, well, we'll look at the second floor. We can look at the second floor. Oh, here, okay. First floor, then, at the gym. This is the high wall of the gymnasium that we would open up in the middle, do some restructuring to make that wide stage opening, and then take in that entire area for stage within that lobby space. The little vestibules on either side would be additions for controlled entry and exit from the gym at that point. And then second floor of the classroom addition just basically follows the first floor. We get 8 classrooms on this level, toilets in the middle, mechanical, and then a couple of additional workrooms or storage for teacher work area and storage at that point. And so this addition is about just shy of 26,000 square feet on 2 levels.
Will there be cafeteria improvement with the additional second floor? I know you said the first floor is going to take in what's already there in the portables. What happens with the lunch program with another whole floor of children?
What time do you have to start your lunch now, Ms. Pewitt, Dr. Pewitt? That could be a problem.
And we've got pretty much stuff in there full time.
David Urey and Roy Waldron were built at the same time. They were built the same year, actually opened the same year. Must be about 75. Well, they started building 75, and then 76 is when we.
So in this case, we would be overbuilding the infrastructure significantly if we did this, wouldn't we?
It is a Title I school, so some of the areas that's used for portables now are for that small group instruction.
Oh, okay.
And try to accommodate that, and that's because the free reduced numbers and that sort of thing, and with that Title I program. That's when Mr. Clardy, when he did the building capacity, when you go back and look again, why he color-coded those differently, because when you have ELL programs, which is a 1:40 ratio, in addition to your classroom teachers, and then you put your programs in for your Title I program, then you're going to use some additional space simply to accommodate teachers to do those interventions programs. So that's why the capacities were different for those two programs.
Okay.
Let me say something as we move ahead here. We are not in compliance at Laverne and Smyrna High School on our bleachers to the American Disabilities Act. We don't have access for wheelchair or any seating for those that are disabled to get up and sit with the rest of the crowd. So we have looked at these, and each one of these have a cost of about $62,000 to go to the home side, put a ramp in and move some seats in, take some seats out and make an area for sitting for ADA, and then on the visitor side, put a ramp in, put 4 or 5 rows of seats, and leave it so that at some point we can go in there and complete the bleachers on the visitor side to solve some of the issues that we've had with overcrowding when we have those big ball games there where you've got a couple thousand people leaned up against the fence, which is a very volatile situation. So we feel like we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone by getting this started now. We can take care of the ADA, and we can also set the mood for future addition there.
We actually received a letter from a parent who was taking her child there and didn't have a place other than park on the grass to do that, and actually sent the letters, state legislators and all too. This is just not an option for us. We have to be ADA compliant.
Joseph, do you want to say anything?
This will just show you that area adjacent to the visitor section of bleachers, ramp and 4 rows of seating. And this says future seating, so this is where the infill could be done in the future to expand that seating area. And then the ramp on the end of the home stadium on that side.
How many people will this accommodate?
I don't know that I have a seat count. We accommodated 4 rows, including a row of handicap seating, and I don't have that seat count handy.
Well, you're kind of trading out some seats because you're going to put the handicap in some of that area. Is that right?
On the home side,
Okay.
You will.
Okay.
We'll just take that front row area
Oh, okay.
on that end on the home side and designate handicap seating at that point.
Okay.
There is a motion on that page if you want to do it.
Are you done, Mr. Carter?
I need to get the lights.
Sir,
And we'll,
before we turn the lights on,
oh, okay.
I'll go in reverse. With Laverne and Smyrna, we have heard a number of times that this additional seating, particularly on the visitor's side, may also incorporate some type of concessions or something like that on the visitor's side. Is that a part of this plan, or have we pared this down to where it is strictly just this seating issue?
Well, we've brought this several times to the board and it's been on our sheet for several years, to try to resolve this problem of the seating. It's failed to be funded each time we brought it up here. With a lack of support from the board and from the county commission. So we're approaching it from a different angle now. We do have plans already drawn that have been bid for a new concession stand that would service both the home and the visitor side, just like Siegel, Oakland, all of the other stadiums throughout the county do. So with the pressure on us to meet the ADA requirements, we feel like this will be a start to get that, and maybe we can get the cost of doing that down, that we might at some future date fund it in the capital improvements, or someone in the at the county commission level will get it and try to help us out with it.
Again, moving backwards, going back to Roy Waldron, at present, in that vestibule area outside of the gymnasium, there is some historic concession or refreshment area there. Has any consideration been made to reestablish that in that renovation?
I don't know that that's been mentioned. I think that could be incorporated, but that specifically has not been mentioned.
Okay. Can you divide the $2 million plus that we're looking at for Roy Waldron between the gymatorium and the 16 new classrooms?
Let me see what I have.
If he doesn't have it broken down, we'll give you a breakdown on all of those, and as we go through this, phase it. We may have to phase some of these things, but we have left the phasing off of it. It'll be a decision for the board to make, is, you know, how much funding we think we should go for. But as we move through these meetings and discuss the building plan, we will break it down in phases. For instance, we would have 2 phases, and we would probably bid them at the same time, and then if we had funds to accomplish both of them, we would try to do both of them.
Okay. Again, stepping backwards, at Smyrna Primary, the drawings didn't show the secure entrance depiction. It may just be because in the gray areas there at the front entrance, we didn't get real detailed.
That's right.
Is that the case?
That's the case. We didn't come into that front entry and really define anything yet, but you're correct. That's just not shown there on the
It is secure. It has a set of doors across the front of that hallway there.
Yeah.
So you have to come into the front doors. Right. There's a desk and a receptionist there, and then she has to let you through those doors to get on into the building.
I was just making sure about that. Also, when the cafeteria expansion is made, is there any intent for a refit of the kitchen, for update of appliances or cost efficiency or anything of that nature?
The only thing that has been mentioned, if that serving line moves out of the kitchen, that frees up some space there to do some things within that kitchen to upgrade that. But no specifics have been discussed yet about that kitchen area.
Okay. We've done a number of things simply because when the federal government made us take away all the fryer units and that sort of thing, you've actually been doing renovations to all cafeterias for the last 2 or 3 years because of the changes in the federal regulations. And that was some of the things with monies, Mr. Sandvik and all brought to us dealing with that. So I mean, he could probably estimate how much we spent, but quite a bit so far in renovating cafeterias.
It's multi-year, so I research a figure on that.
A lot of that also, when the cafeterias were consolidated, that freed up some funds to work into some of those areas that we've done. We've done a ton of renovations over the last 10 years to the cafeterias, and a lot of it is federal guidelines that we have to follow. So if something goes out or if the guidelines change, then we have to go in and redo the kitchen.
Last thing, I noticed in the David Urey presentation, I think the secure entrance issue has got to be right up there with ADA compliance. with our responsibility to maintain our school buildings in a secure manner, I would just voice a strong feeling that be given a significant priority. The last thing is, I noticed the position of the guidance offices, and I was in a school not long ago where the guidance offices were actually accessible through the administrative offices. Curiously, these were, out there in the hallway. Is that a typical position for those?
It is somewhat. The configuration is a little bit different, but typically the guidance will have a back door that connects to administration, but from the students' access, they like to go into guidance just off the hallway without going through the administrative office. So you're not going to the office, so to speak, when you're going to guidance. And so it's usually adjacent, but it usually has its own entrance off the hallway.
In the elementary program, guidance counselors actually go into the classroom and teach. We have a curriculum for them, not so much in the middle and high, but in elementary. So it's not uncommon a few years ago that you would have a guidance counselor's office down this wing and maybe another wing, because that counselor would be responsible for that part of the program for that particular group of students. So elementary guidance is somewhat different than middle and high.
Just the same, even at middle and high, I think student accessibility to the guidance office is a important thing.
Ready to move ahead?
Let me ask a question first. I know Sturgis Creek is 21st Century School. We're going back in retro and some others. Has all of these new building projects, has the technology been figured into the building design and to the cost?
Yes, sir, they have. We have a line item in our estimates here, and if you look on that building page under the F and E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, our technology budget is added in with that. So that line item is furniture, fixtures, equipment with technology in it. And you can see the dollar amount on there.
Mr. Hodge, while you're on page 28, would the board like to address that motion for the ADA compliance and for those two? Is that actually, we were on page 28 is where we were. We have a motion written for that. If you're interested, whatever time we'd like to do that.
I believe you're not talking about any new money, correct?
No, this is coming out of some of our ending fund balance committed to educational capital projects. It's transfers of existing funds.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and read your motion first?
Okay. The motion is to amend. The motion is to amend $125,000 from committed for educational capital project account 34,685 to other contracted services account 91,300-399 to fund seating for the disabled at the Laverne and Smyrna High stadiums as presented.
All right. Mr. Blair made the motion, second by Mr. Holliday. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Guess number 6. Is that what you're ready
Right,
for?
we're ready for 29, and Mr. Carter, you've been asking about some updates, and so he's built them into this meeting tonight.
So tonight we're going to start with Stewart's Creek High, and we had a pretty nice little tour out there a while back with the board to look at some issues throughout the county. This is the side of the campus. The back street that you see headed down to the east is Foxland Drive. That's the street that's in question on that drawing. But you can see we're moving along with roof. We have a lot of it under roof except for this north wing. And then back, we're been working our way out of the courtyard and putting in those ROTC classrooms and some different areas back there. Then here's another angle. You can also see from this that we're moving ahead with the stadium and the bleachers. Have the track in, it's graded, and also it's hard to see on this, but we are also working on the concession out there. You can see the concessions right down at the bottom of the screen by the track. All the parking, all the geothermal wells are under the parking lots in different areas. Another view with the middle school and elementary school over on the left. And that's kind of difficult to see with the lights on, but this is the cafeteria. Looks like we got a little rain in there recently. The hallways are coming along. We're already putting ceilings in certain areas. And yes, that is a green wall. The front entry of the school. As they say down home, that's the only architecture on the building. Another view. We have the rough paving done on most of the site. There, they're working on the scuppers and those downspouts. More roofing going on. In parts of the building, CTE, and then some other areas, we're setting casework already. Casework. And there is your technology wiring.
I know where one of those goes.
Yeah. Okay, Eagleville Phase 2, you've pretty much seen all the interior of it when school started this year, so I just wanted you to see some finished shots of the outside. That's the back of the 2-story addition back there, and the old gym's over there on the right. This is the new concession stand out there. We had to tear the old one down when we located that building back there. Concession stand. That would be on the south side of the building. That is up towards the end between the two buildings, the old building and the new building. This is the canopy. I know we had some concern about students getting wet between those two canopies, but that one is actually overhanging the other one a little bit, and it does have a gutter down there. It's catching water coming off. And you have an accessible ramp there also with the handrails around it for the ADA purpose. There's part of the ramp down into the basement. This is the inside of a concession stand. The restrooms. Okay. We have any questions at this point, or want to move on? Also want to give you an update on maintenance, which also falls under engineering. And we've received a total of 4,540 work orders since fiscal 2012-13 started. And we've completed all of them, but 146. And then technology and hardware systems and support falls under engineering. We've received 6,617 work orders in fiscal 2012 and 13, and we've completed almost 6,100 of those. Now, a lot of these work orders in both, for instance, technology, it could be a bad mouse, or it could be putting, 50 new drops in a school. So
None of this prepares us for Common Core and what's coming with that technology, does it?
I don't know. There might be a little of it that's connected.
And one or two of those work orders could be related to that because we're piloting in two areas, the two different systems with the routers. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of that number is not associated with that in those buildings.
Cool.
Yeah, we are putting quite a few routers and wireless access points in. Other projects, I have a list of things here, and these range from 30-ton air conditioning units to changing lamps on the football field to installing electrical outlets for ceiling projectors. Replacing main transformers. There's just all kind of things that we do. We're constantly upgrading and repairing things. Capital improvements. See if I missed one.
You missed one.
Also, we have a little over $2 million in capital improvements going at this time. We have a roof at Las Casas Elementary. It's complete. We have Smyrna Middle, and we'll be approaching that in the spring to get that done. We have Smyrna Primary ballasted section, and it's starting over the Christmas break and will be completed during Christmas break. Paving, we're just starting Wilson Elementary. That access road up there has gotten in really terrible shape. There's no way we tried to protect it during the construction of all those houses, keep the heavy traffic off of it, but it was just impossible to do. Central office, we've added some parking places back in the back, and we're getting ready to seal coat this. And the main reason for the parking area in the place was to get my guys off the road back there when they come in here from a job later in the day and don't have any place to park. Blackman High School is complete. Central Magnet School is in progress. We just finally got the permit from the city today to proceed with paving that.
Some of you may have gotten calls about that when it be completed. You got the permit today. So.
Las Casas Elementary, we're putting a sewer in out there. The state was after us a little bit about the condition. Although we're meeting those safety standards, the system that was put in out there is decaying. So we're just totally redoing that and putting a sand filter with a drip system in on the existing property. Windows at Holloway, we're getting ready to start those. And we're also bidding another section because they came in a lot cheaper than what we thought for the main building. So we're bidding the annex and the gym at this time. So total of all those projects is $2.3 million. Now I'm going to go ahead and give you a look at what capital improvements we're looking at next year. Mr. Sandvig's already talking budget for the 13-14 year, so I went ahead and put this together. Blackman High School is ready for a roof. There's probably not a huge awareness of this, but that roof that's on that building has been a major problem for a few years now, and we've patched and patched and patched on it, so we're ready to put a new one on there. Paving for Christiana Middle, Laverne Middle, Oakland High School, and Stewartsboro. And a lot of this will be seal coating and patching. Christiana Elementary, gym floor, we've had problems with that floor bucking for quite a while, so we figured it's time to get it fixed. Put a new floor down like we did one up on the other end of the county recently. Buchanan Elementary sewer, we're moving out there. I've talked to the city a little bit about extending sewer from Buchanan Whitworth, and we can't afford it. So we're going to put our own system in out there. Also, the windows for next year will be the Central Magnet Annex and Buchanan Elementary. And that total 2.46 million, and some of those, depending on what Mr. Sandvig thinks we're going to have coming in, I may have to adjust those numbers a little bit. It's time to talk about Stewart's High School ingress and egress, and I have Mr. Jeff Hooper here with Barge Coffin, and I just want to say a word to the people out in that area who live there. It's been a real pleasure dealing with you. We really usually get beat up. People usually come up here wanting to fight, about it. Y'all just been very professional, and it's been a pleasure dealing with you on this. So, we haven't heard your answer yet. Well, it's coming. Thank you for being patient.
My name's Jeff Hooper with Barge Coffin Associates. I've had the privilege of providing civil engineering services to the Board of Education in this community for over 12 years, so we certainly thank you for that. Mr. Clardy had sent me a letter that he had received from Mr. Joe Gurley from the Rutherford County EMA regarding Stewart's Creek campus. As you're well aware, you saw some pictures tonight of the current status of construction on the new high school that is slated to open in August of 2013. This is the letter that Mr. Gurley had sent to Mr. Odom and the board, and I just wanted to point out a couple things. His statement is there's concern with the ingress and egress to the campus. He points out in here that Morton Road does have the potential to flood, as it did in 2010. It goes on to state that we're going to be doubling the amount of students that will be on the campus with the opening of the new high school. And he goes on to state that he wanted to, or it would be desirable to double the number of egress points from this campus. And one last thing that he states in here was it may be necessary to also dedicate one entry point for the exclusive use of emergency vehicles in and out of the site. Next slide, please. So just to give you an overview of where we are with the campus, Interstate 24 up here to the north, Amelville Road has two access points that you can get to the campus, one being Poplar Wood. So there's the entries to the campus off of Poplar Wood, Red Hawk Parkway. The second one being Morton Road, and then you have Rocky Fork Road over here to the west, and then Seminary Road over here to the east. Next slide, please. As part of our study, just to look at potential access points in and out of the campus, you'll see the ones with the yellow stars are the existing entrances and exits to the campus. This is Red Hawk Parkway. These are dual-way traffic in each direction. This access point here across from the elementary school is an exit only off the campus. As you can see, we looked at three different opportunities to provide additional access into the campus. The first was to the west here, Gossett Drive. The second was an access over by the elementary behind the baseball, softball fields out to Rocky Fork Road. And the third access point was to Foxland Drive. The access point here on the north side of the campus, back behind the baseball and softball fields, presented a couple of challenges. One, some construction challenges. Two, this is in a Rocky Fork, is a curvature here. It's got some sight distance issues. So as part of our study, we felt like that it was probably the least popular access point that we could present to the board. With that said, trying to get the 4 that Mr. Gurley had recommended as part of his letter, we started looking at Gossett Drive to the west and Foxland to the east. Both of these are relatively close to the access roads that currently serve the campus. So they're short extensions from the campus infrastructure over to the property lines. They also provide an access point in each direction off the campus. You have one north, south, east, and west, so it gives you good coverage in all directions off the campus. If we could back up one slide, Gary, please. Remember that Mr. Gurley had recommended potentially one access point being specifically for ingress, egress for emergency vehicles. We looked at Foxland Drive as potentially that access for that designation. This interchange between Almoville Road, Foxland Drive, Poplar Wood, and Seminary Road, it's a challenging intersection, to say the least. And I think the neighborhood would certainly agree with that. So the potential to put Foxland Drive as the specific emergency access roadway could certainly be the recommendation. If you'll move forward, please, sir. One more. So this is something, if you open that access drive up, but yet put some sort of fence up or barrier up along that entrance drive to Foxland, put a Knox box on the actual brick columns next to the gate that gives access to the emergency services to get a key that would open the gate during an event. So in conclusion, again, we're just looking at different opportunities. We felt that, again, providing an access in each direction off the campus gave us the best opportunity to get students off the campus in an emergency situation. And I know it's challenging to make a decision as far as, which one gets emergency access only, or working with the neighborhood to figure out the best solution of protecting the neighborhood versus providing the access that you need to the campus. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Would you kind of explain what the Knox box is? There are people may be watching on TV tonight, may not know, so if you'll tell us what that is.
Sure. A Knox box is a special box that emergency access providers have a key to. It's a standardized key that they can actually get in and find another key or card reader, whatever it is, whatever operates the locking device on either the school or a gate, and gives them that access to be able to open those gates in an emergency situation versus actually having to cut a lock or actually ram a gate open.
Mr. Holliday?
Was there any consideration given for increasing the 3, or actually likely the 2 yellow starred access points on campus now so that a larger amount of traffic could move through those points?
No, sir, we did not.
Is there any reason for, with emergency management being the exclusive use of the Foxland Drive proposal, is there any further explanation or thoughts behind it being 24-foot wide?
That's your standard roadway width for two-lane traffic. So Foxland Drive does vary in its width, but that was the standard 2 12-foot wide lanes is your typical roadway section. So it can provide access both directions in emergency. If they had vehicles that were coming into the campus and needing to get out of the campus at the same
Fire
time.
trucks and other equipment like that are not the same size as a domestic, so it would take a little wider opening.
They're not. They generally require 16 clear. They can drive in a 12-foot wide lane, but they like 16 clear if you have one-way traffic.
Mr. Tackett?
Even if those road access where the two stars are were in fact widened, it would appear to me at least that the layman, unless Poplar Wood Road was significantly improved, the width of our access roads really is not going to make much difference at this point in time. I think
Correct.
that long range, that's where it's, I don't know if it's Rutherford County, the city of Smyrna, whoever it might be, where that improvement would need to take place, because you can build all the access roads you want to Poplar Wood and widen them out. I don't think it probably could handle the traffic.
Correct. Popular Wood is currently a two-lane road. So if you put 4 lanes out of the campus to a 2-lane roadway, you're still going to start backing up traffic at that intersection.
Also, just to throw this in, talked to Mr. Mark O'Neill recently with the city of town of Smyrna, and they are getting ready to resubmit their application for a light at Morton and Amaville. They already have acquired the property to put a turn lane in down there, so they need to reapply to the state, and he felt confident that the application would go through this time. That because of the success they had at the high school over in Smyrna, he feels like maybe they weren't as stringent now as they have been in the past, that we would have access. So coming off Morton Road, you would have a light down there that would help in that area.
So the chance of Morton, Poplar Wood being improved is not very likely, because any improvement would require condemnation of some homes, because the drainage for that area is going into a couple of sinkholes. So that improvement's probably not going to happen, especially with the financial situation with the town laying off 40 employees here within the last few weeks.
We looked at opportunities at the intersection of Poplar Wood and headed back out to Rocky Fork, headed back out to actually to Almaville probably 5 or 6 years ago with the town, and it's a really bad intersection. It did take condemnation to be able to fix that interchange. I guess they have decided not to move forward with that just because of the expense.
Most of our water on that site drains to the other end of the property. We have some that goes into a detention pond up there, retention pond. And most of it, though, goes to the other end. If y'all recall, we spent a lot of money down there digging a hole to retain that on site, to not flood anything down stream. And the point I'm making is that there's really no good way to drain Poplar Wood.
Clardy, the depiction that we've been given that shows chain link after the second column, would that chain link extend further on the property line on that side of the high school?
No, sir, one that would just cover the opening, and there's a fence there now that is just a regular farm fence. It's been there for some time, which we feel like would be, you know, good since it's been there so long. I don't know. I think we just tie into that.
Mr. Tackett?
What currently, or maybe proposed increased presence of traffic personnel at intersections of Morton Road from the school on to Poplar Wood, down at Almobile Road and so forth, to keep traffic flowing from the entrance points that we have now? And how's that handled? Is that at a school expense? Is that what the city of Smyrna does or doesn't do?
Well, the town of Smyrna put in, they updated Morton Lane, and we felt we're going to try to contribute a little bit to the turn lane out there if we have some money left over, and the light. And we've done a traffic study recently, and Mr. Hooper he's familiar with that study, so he could probably answer that.
Yeah, well, and I think y'all employ the sheriff's office to help traffic control.
Yeah, that's really what I'm asking. Right. Is there personnel there to make sure that traffic is moving as best it can?
If I'm correct, there's traffic at both entrances to the school and then out at the intersection of Morton and Almoville.
Yeah, okay.
Now, the light that Mr. Clardy mentioned that the town of Smyrna wants to get TDOT to put in would probably control that versus a sheriff's office if it were installed.
Mr. Clardy, when we were on our tour in that area, we pointed out an area on the other side of Morton Road where we suppose that perhaps the town of Smyrna has some municipal investment. Are you remembering what I'm speaking of? That
There's
taking
a
some
fire
property
hall
and
down there, and then we sold them that property across the street in that floodplain over there, across Morton Road, where they're currently working on a park over there.
A park?
Yes. If they do anything in that floodplain to force that water on down, they can't legally do that. They can't fill that in to the point that it forces the water off of them and increases it downstream. So they have to either compensate by digging some out in one area if they put it in the other area. So I noticed out there the other day they're moving dirt at this point, and they also it's a good location for us to when you kind of get back out of the floodplain and those easy edges to get rid of some overburden off of our site. It's an easy haul out there to that.
Now, I know we've been talking a lot about Foxwood. Looking at Gossett Drive behind there, that would be an egress only, never opened up for traffic, or you want to have traffic through there?
I have a motion that's written that'll kind of give you my point on it, and I could read that, and then we could go from there if you'd like to.
I'll make it.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get to that point. Questions?
Well, I mean, I was wondering, isn't there a drainage area behind the school there, next to that fence that we've seen, or?
There's a area that would take a couple bulkheads and a pipe under the road, but other than that, not a big deal, really. We just got to keep the water flowing through there, and it's, the ditch is relatively shallow.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion, recommended motion, it's on page 40B, I think, of your sheet. Recommend approval, motion to approve extending Foxland and Gossett Drives onto the Stewart's Creek campus for ingress and egress of light vehicles at Gossett and Foxland gated and locked to all traffic, including foot and bicycle traffic, except for emergency situations. Any prior board actions regarding closing these back accesses to the campus are rescinded.
Got a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Young, a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Tackett.
Mr. Odom, did you say closing both,
It's
gating both?
the only gated one that we had in this particular motion was the one at Foxland.
Okay. I would like to make an amendment that we also gate Gossett. And the reason I'm making that motion is that I feel like it does two things. It takes care of the recommendation by the EMA, and with bell times and the opportunity to look at the future traffic in that area, that will keep us from disrupting that neighborhood also. So that is my motion to not only to gate Foxland, but also to gate for emergency traffic Gossett.
All right, Mr. Flores made a motion. You got a second to that?
I'll second.
Mr. Young seconds. Any further discussion? Mr. Tackett?
I guess just clarification, are we bound, if we find it necessary at some future point, to say that it is just absolutely impossible to empty the campus without using one or both of those? Are we bound to this forever and ever, or do we have the opportunity to come back and readdress this at some future point if we had to?
In my opinion, you could come back. Jeff, do you have any thought on that?
Well, with respect to the motions on the floor, I think that's the motion to just address the matter of right now. So I think, obviously, with the issues that have been raised, the only immediate issue that the board has is really the one raised by EMA, which is just with respect to emergency vehicles being able to access a couple of additional drives on the property. So I think that's what the board is really addressing at this point. So if the board, if there's some reason this does not work out and you need to do something in the future, that's within the board's authority or some future board's authority. But certainly I think the motion that's on the floor tonight would address the immediate needs that the board had been faced with respect to the emergency access issues raised by EMA.
I might add something to that also. We stagger starting times. So Mr. Zagos told me how long it took them at Stewart's Creek Elementary. How many minutes would it take you basically to do traffic?
It took us about 15 minutes to empty out between 800 and 900 students. That includes all buses and vehicle traffic through 3 different points, though. That's emptying 3 different points.
So in essence, hopefully, the elementary traffic in the morning will be through, and the elementary traffic in the afternoon will be gone before the high school is released. So we have some ability to control that with our elementary, middle, and staggering the time schedules.
I raised the point, not because that's what I want to do, but we've had some suggestion or maybe fact that at some point in fact it was promised this or that or the other would or would not be done. And I just think we need to be clear that this is our intent. And our intent is pure, that we think and hope that this will work, but I don't think it would be wise for us to be in a position to say we promise this will never change, because I think we need to keep that option open if it's necessary.
Let me add, let me say this, that along with that, I'd like to make it harder for, if it's us or the next board or whoever, if to come back and change it. Can't.
You can't bind a future board by our action.
Okay, but can you make it where it has to go, the public has to know about it or anything?
Well, they are anyway, because,
My personal view, I don't think you know what the future holds. So I'm just like, I'm like Mr. Reed right now. What we're dealing with is having another interest on both sides, strictly an emergency usage and everything. So, Mr. Carter, you got anything?
You know, there's currently some foot traffic through there, or at least there's a path worn on the Gossett side. Do you want us to close that to foot traffic also? Or do we leave access from that side for foot traffic and bike traffic?
I'm glad.
Go ahead, Mr. Todd. I was just going to answer him. You go ahead.
Well, I'm glad he brought it up. In thinking about this, I had a conversation with Mr. Odom, and he shared with me a situation, I believe, at Siegel Middle School, where at the end of a neighborhood street, it was determined that it was close enough that residents or members of the student body could get to that point and drop their child off and then do some type of turnaround using a driveway or a three-point turn in the neighborhood street and then exit. And it was close enough, and then foot traffic, the student could make their way on to the school. And I believe at this point we've gone in and even made a turnaround area so as to alleviate kind of a choke point. And so I wanted that to be clearly understood. It certainly opened my eyes when I understood that circumstance, that allowing foot traffic seems so innocent, and yet it can create an even more dramatic traffic problem because of the unintended consequences.
That's the reason we're on Fox and we recommended the full closure gate. Basically, because you have a turnaround at the end of Foxland, we could envision people coming in the morning and coming around and backing up, and you could literally possibly block part of that drive. So that's why we recommended closing that. On the Gossett side, I really do not envision very many high schoolers trying to get out on that side and walking past both schools to get over to the high school on the other side. And I think in the morning, with that being the first school open, those elementaries, the time study, the parents that are bringing cars are going to do that. And the other side is there are some children. I received an email from a gentleman today that has children on Gossett that would like to walk over there. So at the end of Gossett is not that turnaround. So I don't think people will find that a good option to do, because you literally, I mean, the day we went and looked, if you remember, you had to back up and all. So it's not designed to encourage somebody to try to come down Gossett and do it, other than the people that live on Gossett in that area. You know, because it's really not that wide at the very end of it.
there's no place to turn around.
There's no place to turn around, and that's why I don't think it'll create the backup. We don't think so.
I think basically what you said before is you don't have a problem with foot traffic on that side.
No, I do not. I would hate to cut the people out in Gossett that really
Correct.
want to walk straight through with their elementary children.
So,
Do that.
based on
Or
what
bicycle or whatever.
based on what Mr. Blair's motion is duplicating what we're doing for Foxland. Therefore, you don't have an access through there. So, if you want to make that access, you need to change your motion.
Or we could
He
take it
said
up
to
in
put
two
gates.
separate issues. I'd ask if we could to go ahead and resolve Mr. Blair's proposed amendment, and then perhaps look at this as a separate issue.
I heard him say, place a gate. I didn't hear him
Right.
say the same gate
did not say
or the
the same.
design.
I
I
said
think he is
Okay,
setting
you're
a
not,
gate, which would give us
Yeah,
flexibility.
again, I don't think we have the same drop-off issue. Again, one vehicle gets there, nobody's getting out. So, I don't want to close off the opportunity for the subdivision not to walk or ride through a bicycle or a walking entrance only. So it would be a gate where a vehicle could not pass through. So,
okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page,
Yeah.
that Mr. Carty knows what type of gate we're getting to, and the general public does.
Yeah, I don't think we need anything as large as we have on Foxland, but I'd still would like for it to be where, vehicles could not pass through.
There's a
Except-
very good landscape buffer over there at this point, so we would try to minimize the destruction of more of that than we needed to.
Okay.
All right, does everybody understand the amendment?
Just read it again, please.
Ms. Michaels?
Okay, amendment made by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mr. Young, to amend the motion to also include a gate at Gossett Drive for emergency traffic.
Okay.
Everybody good with that? Call roll on the amendment, Ms. Michaels.
Mr. Nipper?
Yes.
Mr. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Holliday?
Yes.
Ms. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Hodge?
Yes. All right, we're going to vote on the original motion as amended.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have an additional amendment that I'd like to offer.
All right.
Because this issue is very important to the community, and in no way that I don't trust the insight and ability of our engineering department, I'd like to ask that we amend the motion to include the language that the Gossett Drive gate be 24 foot with a 4-foot foot or bicycle traffic access, and that the Foxland Drive be a 16-foot gate with no bicycle or foot access.
Again, I'm just going to comment back to you, based on what Mr. Hooper was saying, as far as your standards, what you need, I think you got to look at that too, width-wise. If you got fire truck in, fire truck out, you're talking, I think he may mention 16 foot. So based on that, what they like to have is 32 feet. And we're here dealing with 24. So you can imagine with if you got just 16, you're not going to get 2 trucks through there. I mean, I'm just making that comment.
And this is primarily what we're doing is for emergency traffic. So traffic would be flowing in and out. So I don't know that 16 would work.
8 foot tall.
You want to keep
If
your
we're in
motion?
discussion, then I'll offer discussion. I'm looking for a second.
That's what I'm saying. You want to keep your motion?
Please, sir.
Okay. I have a second.
State your amendment vote again.
That we would add language to the motion that the Gossett Drive entrance would be a 24-foot access, including a 4-foot foot or bicycle access point, and that the Foxland Drive access would be a 16-foot wide gate.
I ask a question.
I'm waiting on a second first.
I'll second it.
Mr. Nipper seconds.
How wide is a 4-wheeler or something? I'm back to your 4 feet. I'm just trying to say, I don't want to turn that into a track for 4-wheelers. I mean, it's a thought that I have.
Pass through a 4-foot gate.
I mean, we may need to let the bicycle, we may need to let some of our engineers, my thought on that width.
I suppose I could be, in discussion, I suppose I could be comfortable if the design of these two gates as they've been proposed here, or only the one for Foxland has been proposed, if it were to come back before the board, it does have an impact on the community what those gates look like. Again, not to try and second guess, but because it's that place between where our school system needs meet our community interest. And I'd like to maintain some level of input as the board is that bridge between the community and the school system's needs to be able to give some insight there. Mr. Nipper expressed a desire to make it challenging for the actions that we are taking right now to be altered in the future. Because of what we've heard from the engineers, that improving poplar wood is very, very difficult. That indicates to me that Foxland Drive would, for the foreseeable future, only be useful as an emergency access. And the individual that gave us additional civil engineering information said that a 16-foot wide gate would be most preferred by emergency management. A 24-foot wide gate is the same as a standard roadbed. So for the purposes of emergency management, 16-foot, they can pass through 10 feet, but they would like 16 feet. And I certainly want to supply what emergency management wants. But to open it to 24 feet is more than what's required by emergency management, and it puts in place the opportunity for Foxland Drive to be a thoroughfare at some point. It may be necessary, but to the interest that the community has expressed, perhaps it's appropriate to make it a challenge to open that further. Gossett goes onto Rocky Fork Road. It goes onto Rocky Fork Road at a point that is much beyond the limited sight distance areas that we've spoken of. And in that regard, Gossett as a we have to do something type of response could be set up as a 24-foot access. However, the benefit to that community is absolutely board action says that we will maintain bicycle and foot traffic through that area. That invites that community into the elementary and middle environment so that we have that community spirit.
Anybody else?
Mr.
Carty?
One of the main factors that actually controls lane width a lot of times is the turning radius at the corners. So if you get an extra 8 feet in there, it keeps you, if you're bringing a long truck, fire truck or whatever through there, it keeps you from running across the curb. It keeps the fire hydrants and everything else set back far enough that you don't run over them with a truck or when you have a large radius turning vehicle. So that's one point. I think Mr. Hooper's statement was that I believe he confirmed that he'd rather have a 24 than a 16. Was that correct? Or
16 feet is generally for one-way traffic. So if you're looking at traffic coming in two directions, if they want to use that access for getting onto the campus and getting off to the campus, your standard roadway section is 24 feet wide. So the 16 is for one-way direction.
okay.
So if it's in on or ingress on or egress out, just one direction, 16 feet is generally fine. But if you want dual traffic modes, 24-foot standard roadway works in that scenario.
So basically, if you would have to have, instead of passing on that road, if you had two large emergency vehicles, one would have stage back here somewhere out of the turning radius on either side, let that vehicle come down there and get around the corner and straighten up and pass him on one of our streets, and then come out and turn on to that. So we're just trying to give them open access so they can get on and off the campus the easiest way possible. I know we've had several situations where we don't have access, for instance, on our football fields. So we've had to go in for an emergency vehicle if we had something down there that needed fire protection. So they have made us put a double lane of gravel coming into those things so they can have wide enough access to get in. So I actually think the 24 would be better. And we did face a similar problem, remember, out at Smyrna Middle, when we had to go out there and squeeze that gate down because the four-wheelers were getting on the football field and tearing it up. So we had to go out there and cut it down to like 30 inches so they couldn't get their four-wheelers through there. They were riding them. And
Mr. Carter, let me ask you.
okay.
On Gossett Drive and Fosslin, do we know the width of the roads already?
I'm not sure what Gossett is, but Mr. Hooper referred to Foxland a while ago.
Gossett, I believe, is 24 feet wide, and at the end of Foxland, I know it kind of widens out even further than 24 feet wide, because I think it's around 32 feet at its widest point at its very end. I'm not sure what it is as you're progressing down Foxland from Almoville Highway.
Okay.
May I make one more comment? I met with with members of the two subdivisions on a Saturday night several weeks ago when they brought their concerns to me. And after that meeting, I went and talked with Mr. Gurley from EMA regarding his letter. And I won't say I challenged him on a catastrophic event and how it would be handled, but he did express his experience with trying to evacuate a 5,000 population town or city, if you will, and it's problematic. Every entity, every situation has limited ingress and egress, and we have the same thing here. And if we had an emergency, I do not want to limit the ability to get our students and personnel out and get the emergency people in. So I'm motivated for those subdivisions to be kept as they are, as long as we can, or forever, hopefully, with the starting staggered times. So I'll have to oppose this because I want that 24 gate, but I want the gates, and I want to have access emergency wise, but otherwise I don't. I'm hopeful that we just never have to open them.
And I agree with that. I mean, that's the whole purpose here. We're trying to establish emergency access. So we've got to allow at least a 24-foot gate, or we're defeating the whole purpose.
Anybody else? Before we go any further, I'm going to ask Mr. Reed, do you have anything to say?
Obviously, the board has before it kind of a balancing issue with respect to the concerns of your neighbors there, and as this board has always indicated, they want to be good neighbors to the neighborhoods around the schools, and that's always an interest that the school board members have expressed throughout the years. At the same time, the school board has an obligation to the students to provide a safe campus for them, and certainly it's everyone's hope that no emergencies will ever arise, that will be a need for multiple emergency vehicles to access the school campus. But by their very nature, you never know when emergencies may happen, and you certainly hope they never will happen. If it does happen, they're often critical in time by nature, and timing is critical at that point. So given the fact that you do have a letter from EMA expressing concerns about accessing the school site in times of emergency, should they arise, the board needs to be cognizant that it needs to be sure that it has a safe campus and that we provided adequate and safe access to the campus for emergency vehicles to get through the campus to the site easily and without hindrance, without problems. So from a liability standpoint, the board certainly is going to be better off providing some sort of access to emergency vehicles to the school campus. And so that it does address the liability issue, but first and foremost, you want to make sure your campus is safe and addresses a safety issue. So from a safety standpoint, the safety of the students, the teachers, personnel, everyone else at the school site, you want to be able to have access to fire engines, police cars, ambulances, those type of vehicles, should they ever be needed. And certainly we hope they're never needed, but should it arise, timing is critical in those instances, and it could affect someone's life or health. And in those cases, it's important for those vehicles to get there quickly without hindrance getting into campus.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate greatly Mr. Nipper's second, and I appreciate even more the strength of unanimous decisions that we so often make on this board. And with the formal opportunity for this topic to be discussed in this way, and what I feel like is our good neighbor status in place, at this time I'd like to withdraw my motion.
Okay, Mr. Nipper?
I agree, yes,
Okay. All right, we're back to voting on our original motion as amended. Does everybody understand what we're voting on? Call roll, Ms. Michaels.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Holliday?
Yes.
Mr. Nipper?
Yes.
Mr. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Ms. Blankenship? Yes. Mr. Hodge?
Yes. Motion passes. Mr. Clardy, when do you expect this to take place?
You mean tying the road in?
I mean, you're getting everything.
Well, immediately, just for the simple fact that our paving guy has all of his rough paving down, his, base coat, and we've been kind of holding him up from leaving the site. So, so we didn't get charged a new mobilization charge for him to come back. So we're going to try to let him put it in there as quick as he can. We'll put up some temporary types of barricades to prevent access. And then once we get the gate material priced out and sized up, we'll get it up and go ahead and make sure those are secure. So quickly.
So I guess what I'd like to see you do, once you get the roads in there, put some kind of temporary fencing up there until you get your gate.
Yeah, we will.
If you would.
We'll secure it.
That way we don't have to worry about barricades being moved and all that, people going around them. So, if that's not a problem. All right, Mr. Odom, anybody else got anything else on this?
You have the last piece that you need to do, the site, SEC site engineering consultant. Do you have anything there that you need to do on that piece?
No, I think just read it.
Number 8, you said we don't need to do anything on number 8?
Do we have anything else to do? There's a.
On Buck Canyon?
There's a motion down on the bottom of that. Hang on a second, let me see. There's an SEC agreement in your package, but you've pretty much seen that because it was their agreement was approved. This is just a task order add-on. So and this is the third one we'll be doing. We've done Kittrell, we're in the process of doing Las Casas now, and this will be Buchanan.
You need to do this motion.
Okay, that would be on A1, we got, I think, on that one. And this is the recommended approval of motion to approve design of the sewer system at Buchanan Elementary School by Site Engineering Consultants for a cost of $30,125 to be funded from capital outlay funds in the general purpose school budget as presented.
You've heard the recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Blair, second by Mr. Nipper. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Let me just say, Mr. Carter, I appreciate all your work on getting all this stuff together, because what we went through tonight has been a mountain of paperwork, and I'm sure it's taken you a lot of time compiling all those. So I just want to tell you I appreciate you and your staff and
Thank you.
Everybody working on everything. Number 9, discussion of road board and school board zonings. We put this on the agenda, or I put it on the agenda because I was asked by a couple board members to basically let's discuss this a little bit more and see if there's anything further we need to do or anybody wants to do. So I'm open.
Well, if I can, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that I'm really not happy with the proposal that has come out of that committee. I hope to be able to speak at the county commission, voice my opinion about it. I understand why they did it, but I think the Zone 6, the new Zone 6 will be, it's in the highest growth area of the county. I think that if we have to stay within the 5% rule, that being Zone 6 just itself is going to bust that rule of that 5% because of all the growth.
Mr. Holliday?
The board allowed me to serve on this and made application, and the steering committee appointed a school board member to that special committee, and I served there. At the first few meetings, Coy Young was there with me, and it was a very challenging time to say the least. There are 7 criteria for redistricting, and they are also applicable to rezoning. And in that manner, it's appropriate for those 7 criteria to be considered. Now, how they are considered is up to whichever committee is doing that redistricting or rezoning. It was discussed in the special committee meetings, some of the motivating factors that created this special committee, and that discussion took place both within the committee and by some individuals that chose to attend those committee meetings. One of the biggest issues was the non-contiguous nature of school board and road board zone 4, and the fact that the county commission's interest in maintaining the community of Almaville into the area that is what we'll look at as Zone 7, that was a higher priority than to have a road board or school board zone that was contiguous. At the same time, there was discussion of communities of interest or political boundaries. And this took into consideration the municipality of Eagleville, the town of Smyrna, the city of Laverne, the city of Murfreesboro, those incorporated areas. Alderman Broker from the city of Laverne was there and expressed strongly that it was of interest that the city of Laverne not be divided in 3 different school board zones. I know here at the school board and in other circles, that question has come up, and it's been asked, why on earth would you want one representative from Laverne as opposed to the potential of having 3 representatives from Laverne? As the representative to the school board who happens to reside in Laverne, it was certainly a curious question for me, and I tried to find an answer to it as well. And what I found was that in each community, whether it be Kittrell or Eagleville or Lascassas or Murfreesboro or Laverne, there are certain characteristics of that community that are unique. And Alderman Broker expressed that while he was happy with his current school board member, and I was happy to hear that, he could not be guaranteed in the future that there was a higher likelihood that an individual from Laverne would be on the board to represent the unique characteristics of the Laverne community. You might ask yourself, what is particularly unique about Laverne? And I thought about that as I drove down this evening, and I have to point out that we have a particular subdivision in Laverne that has, in essence, its own elementary school, its own middle school, and its own police precinct. Those 3 things don't typically go together, and yet they do in Laverne because of the socioeconomic characteristics of that area. I don't think, quite honestly, that police precinct is still active, but there have been times when it has been. And it's a challenge. I had a conversation with one of our principals last week, and in the course of the conversation, the principal chose to characterize a certain situation, and they expressed to me that there was a threshold, an economic threshold, and some of the students that were in their school never got to that economic threshold. It was a discussion about technology and access to technology. And I was challenged as to whether or not I could fully appreciate people who lived underneath that economic threshold. I had to point out to the principal that the economic threshold that they had chosen was one that I did not exceed. It's a characteristic, perhaps, of living in Laverne. So why does Laverne need its own area, or at least the possibility of that? Perhaps these are reasons to be considered. Maybe it makes it a little more appropriate to be considered. So when the special committee looked at these 2 zones or these 2 maps, they certainly saw the value in what was known as Scenario 4. The original map represents a private act that collects together 3 individual county commission districts into a road or school board zone. By that private act, those 3 county commission districts are linked together. The first thing that the special committee had the opportunity to do was break those links and put together 3 county commission districts that geographically, economically, or otherwise were appropriately linked together. And that's the biggest thing that they did between the existing map and Scenario 4. That's why you see the compactness and the nature of that map. I think that's a good effort. I think they've done good work right there. And I think that that was something that Commissioner Phillips expressed on Tuesday evening. That is something that we can see the merits of. What then became a challenge was when, how, and under what circumstances to put that map into place. And there was a great amount of discussion about that because of the impact that it would have predominantly on the come on, somebody help me. What's the word? Incumbency. Yes, incumbency. Gracious. Because of the impact it would have on incumbency. Us. And that is principally by putting Mr. Young, Mr. Nipper, and Ms. Blankenship all in the same district. I went and did some research and leaned on the TSBA like we so often do, and it so happens that over 50% of the school board members in the state of Tennessee are serving in their second term or beyond. It is typical for a school board member to serve a second term or beyond. The advantages of that are things that we see here on our board with 2 level 5 board members, our chairman going into his 3rd term, our vice chairman representing the entire Middle Tennessee district in legislative opportunities and leadership capacities. I don't want to belabor this point, but there is all kinds of reasons for there to be longevity and there to be experience on the school board. The stability of our school board, I believe, is part and parcel to our being an exemplary school system. Because of these things, I am asking the board to send a recommendation to the county commission for implementation of this scenario 4, which has its merits, but an implementation in the 2020 election cycle. Now, that still means that in 2020, unless somebody moves, Ms. Blankenship, Mr. Nipper, and Mr. Young would all be in that zone 2. And that would be unfortunate, and yet it does not guarantee that they would get reelected at the 2016 election cycle. I think it's a better scenario to put it in place in 2020. The only reason I can share with you why the special committee did not do that was because of a marked bias against incumbency. One that on a number of occasions I had to challenge, and I think that Mr. Phillips expressed that on Tuesday night as well. For all these reasons, I would ask, and specifically I'd ask for the action tonight so that we're not trying to send a sentiment on Tuesday before the county commission meeting or Thursday of next week, that we could send this message clearly and send it quickly that a 2020 implementation is better. Pardon me for being so lengthy. Guys, I served on that committee, and it was a marked challenge.
Okay. I'm sorry, but Kittrell, you mentioned Kittrell. Kittrell is busted open, I'm sorry. Because we go from Halls Hill Pike to Bradoville Pike. So we cover all of 4 and into 6. When y'all did that, I have been busted open how many times as a community? First 41 years ago, then a few years ago by the school board again when we did it for the 2 middle schools. My community of Kittrell came to me, said, please stop busting us open. This is the only time that we are represented as a whole community, is on the road board and on the school board. They don't like this plan. They don't like any of it. So I cannot support it at any facet of it. It needs to go back to the committee, and the CAF needs to re-look it over.
Yeah, I started out on this committee, and it is a very tough challenge to try to, and I understand what the committee was assigned to do, but it's a tough challenge. You can't do it. You can, but you're going to cause a lot of problems, and I just have a problem with upsetting the whole county over one little area. I think we need to look at that one little area and fix that area, and not upset the whole county over something like this. So I can't recommend it either. I mean, I think we just need to either back up and punt or leave it as is, you know.
That area you're talking about is Laverne, correct?
It's what it sounds like Mr. Holliday was referring to is one little area there in Laverne that doesn't feel like they're getting the proper representation. So
It really came into discussion because we did municipality studies for the city limits, and we found that we could not encompass any of the municipalities 100%. What we could do is we could put a majority of that municipality into one road board or school board zone, so that no municipality was eclipsed by another municipality in every road board and school board zone. If that made sense, let me know. If it didn't, I'll try and explain it a different way. At least 50% of any incorporated area would exist in a road board or school board zone where no more than 50% of any other municipality would exist. Smyrna cannot be completely encapsulated into one road board or school board zone. However, there is a zone 7, that has most of Smyrna. Eagleville is in 6. Murfreesboro is in 5. Laverne in 1. Not all of Laverne, but most of Laverne. And so it gives those municipalities some representation. Yes, there are other communities of interest. The statute does point out to us political boundaries, which are defined as those incorporated areas. That does not lessen Kittrell, Almaville, other areas of the county that are traditionally grouped together. But hopefully even this map, and I don't know specifically of the makeup between Zone 2 and Zone 3, if there is 50% of Kittrell in one or the other.
It is. Highway 70 is the boundary line between districts 4 and 6.
And so is a majority of Kittrell?
It's on both sides of the road.
So it's 50-50.
50-50. If you ever have to go out there, you'll realize that it's 50-50. Highway 70 divides them. And that's even the voting precincts, because up until this last election in August, all voting at Kittrell was 2 precincts, 4 and 6.
Mr. Blair?
So.
Were we able to get an answer, and since we have a chairman of one of the committees, when the commission approved this first one, to go back and substitute this, is it by a simple majority or is it by a supermajority? Simple, okay, okay. I assumed it'd be a super, but a comment of having been around the block a little while is that any resolution that or recommendation that comes from this board had better be unanimous. And if it's not, then I think it's probably an endeavor we probably shouldn't attempt. So
I certainly agree with you, Mr. Blair.
So I think we have an answer.
I will then allow this board to understand that the vote in the special committee is on the record, and 9 members of the special committee voted 6 in favor. Myself and the representative from the road board, Mr. Keith Bratcher, voted against this, and Mr. Edward Phillips abstained. It is the vote of record, and to my fellow board members, I fought hard.
I know.
We know you did, and I appreciate all that you've done by being on the board there. And we know how hard you fought, so thank you.
Anybody else? I think I made mention the other night that County Commission meeting the 13th. Commissioner Jordan?
Mr. Tosh, you might have to speak for just a minute. I would appreciate it. Just reminding the board that I served on the redistricting for the county commission, and he's right. It's an extremely difficult job, and I might point out a job that for which we received no compensation. It was strictly a labor of considerable amount of love, I suppose. But the next time that the census is taken, those figures will be in around 2020, which is one of the years in question here. And in the spring and early summer of 2021, by law, another committee will have to be formed. I can tell you, living or dead, serving or not, I will not be on that committee. Maybe I'm dead. But my point is that they will be redrawn again. And if you don't mind, Mr. Hodge, if I may continue, on Thursday night, a week from tonight, you have some options here, and I strongly suggest, and I understand you were going to, I did hear Mr. Phillips on the TV address you. Of course, he was the chairman of our district board. You have some options on that night. You can appear early in the evening in the public comment period and express how you feel for or against, or you can wait until the item on the agenda actually comes up and express a desire to your commissioner. So, Mr. Nipper, I'll take care of you if you want me to do that. You just ask me that night. And then we suspend the rules, and then any of you be allowed to speak. And as I understand it, I don't believe you'll have time limit when that occurs, so you're welcome to do that night. I do not recall, did Mr. Phillips, did he say that we were going to vote that night and decide that night, County Commission? He did not, did he?
Said January.
I think that's correct. I thought he told us that the last time. So we're going to have some time to consider the plan as is. But I do think that next Thursday would be the time to take advantage of this, because you can come back right back in January if you so choose, and do it again if you want to. And the other question, if there are no questions of me on that, Mr. Hodge, I wanted to ask the board, is it your intent to put these funding requests in a priority order as a board fairly soon?
January.
Will that be presented to us, at least my committee, in January?
When do you meet?
22nd.
We should have something.
It's
Our
possible.
first meeting, possible. It's a possibility we could.
Okay, I would suggest to the board that January or February, if either one, to get rolling on this budget year, because they will have a meeting or two, probably at least preliminary, somewhere right in there. And I wouldn't want to wait until after that. By the way, our January meeting will almost for sure be at Central Magnet School. So we're venturing out, and Mr. Ash wants us to come. We're going to take some tours at 4:30, and the meeting will be on the stage in the auditorium at 5:30 on January 22nd. It's something new we haven't done in a while, so I'm looking forward to that. And I appreciate you letting me speak, Mr. Hodge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Anybody else? I know it's been a long one, but we survived. Tomorrow will be another day, so as I always say, it's all minds at ease. Mr. Tackett.
Let me say for the record, to Mr. Belden in particular, I really appreciate your comment. You have been very faithful to be here to oversee what may transpire, but the comments that you made prior to the point about what we should or should not do are well received. And I think I can speak for the board. We went through the zoning process on Tuesday night, and that certainly was arduous and problematic to some degree in trying to deal with folks' interest, as Mr. Reed just so eloquently put, trying to balance everything out and try to make it the right way. And I'm hopeful that because we didn't have rioting on our hands tonight and we didn't have rioting on our hands Tuesday night, I'm hopeful that that's an indication that this board and our director and other personnel have at least been forthcoming with information. It's not always been what people want to hear, but at least we've tried to be truthful and, as I say, forthcoming and trying to be responsible in that regard. But I do appreciate your comments, and we've had several comments, many of the emails that I've received have started with that very kinds of comment. They do appreciate it, and I do think that's the case, and I appreciate you making that public. I really do.
You know, go ahead.
Before we close, so it's the contention of the board that we're not going to formally oppose the plan for the new road in school boards? Is that what I understand?
I didn't have a motion or anything on that. It's like Mr. Blair said, I think I'd make sure I got a consensus above, among all the board members.
Okay.
My hope would be as a board, we go to the county commission meeting and whoever wants to speak would speak.
Okay.
And we all have 3 to talk to.
I think that's what Mr. Phillips said the other night. Contact the commissioners in your district, and I think we'll probably do that in one way or another. So, Mr. Tackett, I'd like to say to you that I appreciate your comments. So, with that, we're adjourned.